Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer.
I'm Steve Wilkes.
Here we are in our shorts.
It's November the 8th.
It's November the 8th.
Yep.
80 degrees outside.
What gams?
I'll say. But you'll probably be seeing this in December, so you know we're all about being up to the times in the fashion things.
That's true.
We're gonna taste two. I didn't mean to bang that so loudly, so I did it again. I swear we haven't been drinking yet. We're gonna do a couple of brown beers today. You'll see one now, and then the other in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Recently, my wife Susan and I went up to Canada and went to Banff.
Eh?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And we went to this. I think it's called Three Bears Brewing in Banff, and their rotating beer, their featured beer, was a Kentucky Common.
Wow.
And I hadn't. You had to go to Canada to get a Kentucky Common. I haven't heard of a Kentucky Common since like the early days of homebrewing. You know, when we first started getting into homebrewing, Kentucky Common and pre-prohibition American lager. You know, these are like obscure, extinct styles that you know people would brew because you couldn't get them.
Right.
So I said, boy, that's a fun style to try. And so Matt Giovanisi got together and I got together on Basic Brewing Radio and formulated a recipe for this style. Would you like to hear how it goes?
I would love to hear how it goes.
I started off with 8 gallons or 30 liters of water at 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 65 C. And into that I put 8 pounds or 3.6 kilograms of American two-row, 2 pounds or 900 grams of flaked maize, 8 ounces or 227 grams of Crystal 120, and 3 ounces or 85 grams of black malt. I mashed at 150 degrees Fahrenheit, 65 C, for 90 minutes. At the beginning of a 60-minute boil, I added 18 grams of German Northern Brewer at 11.4% alpha acid. And I did a no-chill. So I racked into a no-chill container. The next morning, when it was cooled down, I pitched at 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 C, a packet of L26 Pilgrimage. Now that's a lager yeast, but I pitched it at ale temperature essentially. Beer started off at 1047, finished at 1008 for an ABV of 5.1%. Allegedly, the calories are 158. So, and also, when a couple days later, when fermentation settled down a bit, I added an oak spire that I had soaked in bourbon, in Kentucky bourbon. So I added that, I poured the bourbon in there, and then I added the oak spire, and I let that sit in there for 3 or 4 days, I think. But I brewed it on October 22nd. I kegged it on the 29th.
Wow.
So a week later.
Wow.
And this is a beer style that historically is meant to be, or in the past they say that it was brewed quickly and drank quickly. But it's basically a brown or reddish brown cream ale. You know, because you got your two-row, you got your flaked maize. I guess if you wanted to be more authentic, you could use 6-row barley instead of the 2-row barley. Yeah. But this is this L26 Pilgrimage is a lager yeast from Imperial, and the recommended temperature range on it is from 44 to 56 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 to 13 C. But the basement was at 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 C. So technically it's out of the spec range. So we'll see if it still tastes good.
At our house, we say you get what you get and you don't pitch a fit. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's a lovely beer. You're right, it's got a little reddish hue. blessing the beer. That's really good.
Now the one that I had in Canada, it was about the same color, and it was really good, but it was very clean and drinkable. And I wanted a little more kind of rustic character. I wanted a kind of rough edges around a little bit.
Well, it's not Kentucky Uncommon. It's Kentucky Common.
That's right. So we went with the Crystal 120 because I wanted some of that little darker, caramel character. So what are you getting? What are you tasting?
Burnt toast. That the good part of the crust on a piece of toast. I get that. I think it's very clean. It's a little fruity. Mostly I get that kind of breadiness, that kind of toasty roastiness, which I really like. And it's so it's not a hop driven beer. So it's definitely a malt driven beer, and the malt is, I think you got what you wanted. It's roastier. There's a little bit more going on.
Is it if you closed your eyes and someone told you it was a porter or a stout, would you think it was a porter or a stout?
Let me see. Let me try.
It's a porter or a stout.
I just keep thinking of England.
Closed his eyes and thought of England.
Close your eyes and think of England.
I think the fruitiness is coming from the Crystal 120 and not the yeast.
I agree with that.
It's not a yeasty ester. That's where we have been drinking.
Honestly, I wouldn't think that it was a porter or a stout, even with my eyes closed. I mean, for real, being serious for a minute. It doesn't go. I don't get the chocolate.
Oh,
so it's like, if I'm closing my eyes and going, "What is this?" and I taste chocolate and roastiness, then I'm in stout
or coffee. There's no
coffee. There's none of that stuff in there. It actually reminds me a little bit more of a richer, somewhat more mouthfeel Northern English pale ale, like an Old Speckled Hen.
Oh,
I don't know if that's from Northern England, so I should back up from that. But like Newcastle, like a Newcastle. Right. Only this has a little bit more hop character. It's a little bit better defined. A Newcastle is very soft, in my opinion, and this is a little sharper in flavor. But this beer kind of reminds me of those beers, ever so slightly.
Could it be like a hoppier, mild sort of thing?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not an expert in any beer styles, but I can pretend. But
well, when you drink a beer, you think, well, what does this remind me of? And God knows I've drank a lot of beer over the years, and so I have a memory bank that stretches back decades.
Well, allegedly, the IBUs are only 24 on this beer. So, it's not super bitter. It's not super hoppy. I think it's just really quaffable, to avoid saying drinkable.
No, I do too.
I don't know whether it's true to the style or not, but I think it's good.
Well, I think it's a very good beer, and I think the Pilgrimage clearly did a good job at 66 instead of 45 or whatever it's supposed to be. And would it be a little crisper? I don't know, maybe, but does it need to be? No.
And it was done in a hurry.
Yeah.
Well, so, there you go.
I love it.
A fun beer, a fun old style to try.
But should you be chasing this with a shot of bourbon? It's a Kentucky beer.
Ain't got none. I bought a little thing to soak my wood in, and then it's all gone.
And then what's the Kentucky? Is it burgoo? What's the stew? The Kentucky?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody tell us what it is. It's a big stew they make in Kentucky.
Put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments.
All right, everybody.
Cheers.
Try it. Cheers.
Try it.
Come and visit us online at basicbrewing.com. You can find archive lists of our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs and our brewer's logbook, where you can track and log up to 50 batches of beer. Burgoo.
Burgoo. Burgoo.
Like I had some on my shirt the other day.
It was like a Brunswick stew, but I think they call it Kentucky burgoo.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, my doctor gave me a pill for that.